Okay. All right. Jai Baba, everybody. Welcome to Lord Meher book reading. And I'm so glad that everybody is here today from all over the world. And I have some special guests today as well, and some more I'm looking forward to. And we stopped last week at page 1781. So I will continue from there. 1781, page Lord Meher, the online version, Nasik and Kans. During every available hour, the Westerners were busy helping bundle individual packets of millet in 5-yard pieces of cloth to be distributed to the 10,000 poor being rounded up. Rauner and Nadine's wrists got very easily sore while tying the bundle after bundle of cloth and grain. Noni was the only Westerner exempt from this work because she had arthritis. In addition, there were plans for cooking a feast the same day for all who attended. Baba had stopped giving darshan to outsiders for a long time and was not meeting anyone other than those staying in the ashrams at Nasik, Rahuri, and Meherabad. All others were informed that he was in seclusion, but he had agreed to give his darshan to the public during the 2-day celebration of his birthday. And he directed Chandji to write the following letter to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, as we know, is a famous Indian freedom fighter. He was called the father of the nation. February 4th, 1937. My dear Gandhiji, the 43rd birthday of Sri Meher Baba is to be celebrated on the 17th and 18th of this month on the grounds of the retreat here in Nasik. Among the principal functions on this occasion is the distribution of grain and cloth as a special prasad personally given by Sri Meher Baba to over 10,000 poor and destitute, and others to be invited and collected from the villages in the surrounding districts. Irrespective of caste, color, or creed, Sri Baba, who is in seclusion for a long time, will allow darshan to all on these 2 days. The occasion will incidentally provide an opportunity for a meeting of his Eastern and Western disciples and devotees. Since it is for the first time that his Western devotees who had recently arrived to stay here in this retreat participate in a public function with their Indian brethren. It is Sri Baba Sahib's wish that those who can, and especially those who have been in his contact for some time or other in the past, be near him on this particular occasion for the special spiritual significance and importance it has the personal benefit of every individual near him at the time will derive materially as well as spiritually. It gives me great pleasure to have this opportunity to convey Sri Baba's invitation at his express wish to yourself, your family, and others who wish to accompany you here. We shall be glad to arrange board and lodging for your arriving, which we love and blessings as always. Jenny, you can reach next page. Thank you. Unmute yourself, Jennifer.
1782, Nasik and Cannes. Declining the invitation, Mahatma Gandhi wrote back, on 11 Feb 1937, Sigaon, Wardha. My dear Dada Chanji, I have received your letter. I do not agree with the free distribution of grain and cloth to the poor. It is difficult to discriminate, and why should the poor be made to become beggars? I cannot understand Sri Baba Sahib agreeing to the free distribution of grain and cloth, whereas I could understand the distribution of work against full and honorable payment for the same. The former, in my opinion, makes poverty sinful, while the latter method gives it dignity. In reply to this, Chanji wrote to Gandhi, "We appreciate your very frank letter, but you seem to have missed the point, for there is no issue of begging or any discrimination between classes raised at all in the distribution of grain and cloth to the thousands by Sri Baba, whose only object in doing this is to give something from him as a special prasad to each, irrespective of class, creed, color, or even status in life, whether rich or poor, with his own hands, so that each recipient would not only have the benefit of his darshan after a long period of his seclusion, but also of his personal touch and a prasad as a special gift of grace from him. Besides, these thousands who will receive this prasad at the hand of Sri Baba will constitute no particular class, but all classes of people, rich as well as poor alike, and all of whom are invited are specially informed that there will be no discrimination or difference in classes, as will be seen from a copy of a Marathi handbill enclosed herewith, thousands of which have been distributed all over. And even though the material worth of the grain or cloth may not count much with the rich or the middle class, it will count much as a substantial help to the thousands of the poor and the destitute coming from the villages all around. While both will have the common benefit of having prasad from a spiritual master, the significance and importance of which need not be explained to you, a scholar of the Shastras. My object is specifically mentioning only the poor and the destitute was only to point out Baba's love and consideration for this class whose interest he has always at heart and for whose upliftment he has always worked, along with all his activities for the general upliftment of humanity. Sri Baba does not merely teach but practices spirituality himself and makes it practical for others with his personal example. The dignity of labor cannot therefore be too highly emphasized in his ashrams. As a practical example, in his new ashram at Rahuri, spiritually dazed and God intoxicated mad persons are collected and treated personally by him and are also given a spiritual push by him as a master. Not only does he himself give them a bath, food, and drink with his own hands to give them all the benefit of his personal touch, but he makes a number of his intimate mandli and others work and cooperate with him in this and in various other capacities to render real and selfless service to these God mad souls, who in the world are left uncared for and are found wandering in streets indifferent to their physical existence. As a spiritual master to whom the rich and the poor all over the world are all alike, any allusion as to discrimination in class, creed, or color of encouraging begging or making poverty sinful is absolutely out of place. The Mandli also sent the following cable to Narayan Maharaj at his ashram headquarters in Khetgaon. February 5th, 1937. We request your presence on the 17th and 18th for Sadhguru Meher Baba's birthday occasion at Meher Retreat, Trimbak Road, Nasik. Meher Bhakti Mandli. It is not recorded why, but Narayan Maharaj was unable to attend. As do you want someone else to read, or should I continue?
You continue.
As mentioned day and night for 6 weeks, Preparations had been in full swing to celebrate Meher Baba's 43rd birthday at Meher Retreat. The celebration was to be on a grand scale, and a large tent was erected on the grounds to house the guests. Ramju, Adi Senior, and Rustam were occupied solely with this work. On the 15th of February, Pendu, Padri, Vishnu, and Siddhu arrived from Mehrabad to assist them. The excitement mounted each day, and the Westerners were particularly anxious to meet the master's Eastern lovers and witness the pageantry. The
Hold on a
world
second. There was a footnote. Let's see what it is. The women Mandali living in seclusion on Mehrabad Hill did not attend the function. Go ahead.
The world is in constant pursuit of peace and pleasure, age observed, but that happiness does not contain wine compared to this intoxicating wine. Worldly pleasure and happiness are nothing but shadows. Only the good fortune accrued from previous births procures this wine. Even the entire treasure of the world cannot buy one drop of it. Only the heart's thirst can pay its price. When a desperate heart burning with thirst approaches the tavern, only then do its doors swing open.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Marvin, would you like to read?
Okay. On such auspicious occasions as his birthday in Nasik that year, Mayor Baba would open the doors of his tavern and distribute divine love, and each person's share was according to the intensity of their longing. Such thirsty souls from Bombay, Pune, Abhinagar, Nagpur, Karachi, and other distant places throughout India flocked to Nasik, and the city blossomed with the fragrance of their devotion. Papa Jasawala arrived from Nagpur with his family. From Bombay, the Dadachanji family arrived with Naraman. Memo arrived from Pune on 16 February, and it was a day of especially great joy for her to see the thousands who had gathered from the east and west to offer their homage at the feet of her son. Shariarji's brother, Kodadad Kaka, also attended. And a footnote says Kodadad Kaka died in Iran, July 1949, in his late 90s. Needless to say, it was no small or easy task to arrange accommodations for the thousands who attended the two-day program. But Baba's Nazar made it possible. Besides managing housing for the guests, cooking for so many thousands of people was a tremendous undertaking. On Wednesday morning, 17 February 1937, the sun appeared over the horizon and was the first to take the Master's darshan. Its light bathed the sea of humanity, milling under the pavilion, waiting to receive the Lord's prasad. The first day was to be a day of public darshan. Baba wished to distribute the bundles of cloth and grain, along with laddus, or sweet, to the poor and destitute. Near Baba's seat, under the canopy, the bundles were stacked in huge piles. Baba walked over from the main house at 8 o'clock. As the doors of the wine shop were thrown open, tumultuous cheers of Sadguru Meher Baba Maharaj Ki Jai rent the air with his every stride. The angels cursed their bliss and envied the joy experienced by Baba's lovers. Age was overwhelmed by the sight of Baba's beauty amidst such thunderous worship. Had the God-man ever received such homage in his lifetime in any previous advent? It wondered. Baba took his seat on the raised platform with the distribution of prasad, and the distribution of prasad began. The crowd of thousands teemed with excitement as the poor persons who had been brought were formed into rows and were led to Baba one by one. Handing them a bundle of prasad with one hand, Baba would bow and touch their feet with his other hand, and then touch his own forehead, thus saluting the God in them. As person after person filed by, The program went on continually from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening, and more than 10,000 people received Baba's prasad in those 10 hours. 25 of the men mandali kept the crowd in line, and some lovers also helped. Footnote: Satyamang, the former thief, was in charge of security during the birthday program. After each poor man or woman had taken darshan, his or her hand was dipped in dye and stained red to prevent repetition. Sometimes in their enthusiasm, the mass of poor people would break out of their rows, and the mandali were hard-pressed to maintain order. Surf was forming in the ocean, stirring some of the drops to rise up in exaltation. At one point, a mad rush erupted and disorder was about to break out. But Baba's silent warning brought the crowd to their senses, and calm was restored. This was the chance for the poor to receive the God-man's prasad and have his personal touch. And some waiting in line must have thought that Baba would stop the distribution and they would miss their turn. But he did not, and went on giving bundle after bundle to each, hour after tiring hour. As the darshan progressed into the middle of the afternoon, someone asked Baba if his back hurt from leaning over and touching the feet of so many people and handing out prasad. Baba indicated, "My back aches so much, it doesn't ache at all." Smiling wearily, he added, "The whole evolutionary scheme is passing through my spine today. This is the first time I am touching the feet of those who come to pay me reverence. I salute the divinity in them as they salute the divinity in me." Later, Baba remarked to the Western group, "I give and I receive. As Baba I gave, as those wretched I received." Thus the emptying of the tavern continued, as round after round was poured. The sight made even the thirstless parched. Eyes that seldom cried, filled with tears in an outburst of weeping. Hearts that were hardened, cold by the world, rushed forward to bathe the Master's feet with their tears. There was a continuous flow of love for Meher Baba, and the seekers longed to drown in his ocean. Forgetting their homes, jobs, and families, the lovers were merged in a rapture of bliss. For days afterward, they wished for nothing more than to seclude themselves in a quiet place and enjoy that lingering feeling. Although thousands attended the function, one and all felt this wave of love and happiness. That feeling is indescribable. It must be experienced. Although music was being performed and crowds were milling everywhere, Baba's eyes missed nothing. How could eyes which swept the universe at a glance miss something or someone so near? One old woman, after receiving prasad, queued up again. Seeing her red palm, Vishnu was about to remove her, when Baba immediately stopped the line, called Vishnu, and slapped him. This deeply moved the old woman, and she burst out, "Oh God, forgive my offense. It is not his fault, it is mine. I am coming to you for prasad for the second time." At this, Baba embraced her and directed Vishnu to feed her two children, and also to call the woman and her children back the next day for food. And here's a photo. When the distribution of prasad was over at 6 o'clock, Baba left the pavilion and went to inspect the arrangements for the next day's feast and activities. It was near midnight when Baba called the Western lovers to the main house. Baba was lying prostrate on a couch, exhausted. When the Westerners gathered round him, he pulled himself up with obvious effort and then slumped back down on the couch with his eyes closed. The lovers' hearts were full at seeing Baba give darshan for 10 hours continuously, barely stopping for a 15-minute lunch break, and then knowing he labored for hours more, and they beseeched him to rest. But again, Baba pulled himself up, passed his hand over his eyes, inhaled deeply, and then looked at each and spelled out, "I want to talk to you about today's activity and what it signifies for my universal work." The Westerners pleaded with him to defer the explanation until the next day when he would be rested. But Baba insisted that now was the right time and began dictating. The universal mind and infinite consciousness have infinite ways of working universally. Whatever work one who has a universal mind or infinite consciousness does is reverberated through the universe and produces reflex actions. If he fasts, the result of fasting is felt throughout the universe spiritually. A master's working is always for the spiritual end. If he observes silence, the same result is brought about. Now the world is laboring under terrible economic chaos. To follow the spiritual path and to enable the mind to accept the spiritual, the material needs must, to some extent, be satisfied. Consequently, when I with my own hands give food and clothing to the poor, the result will be that the world will gain economic and material welfare. When I wash the mad and lepers, the effect will be that those of subnormal or abnormal consciousness will gain normal or supernatural consciousness, and the lepers will either get cured or their future births will be lessened. When I ask any one of you to bathe a leper, your doing so serves a dual purpose. In the first place, you are trained to tackle difficult work, which ultimately, from the spiritual standpoint, results in the gradual elimination of your ego. And secondly, the habit of obeying my orders implicitly and unquestioningly is developed. For example, if I ask you to observe silence, and if your obedience is sufficiently grounded in that respect, I can then rely upon you to obey me in other similar difficult tasks. Also, since you are near to me and connected with me, your observance of the fast or silence, bathing of the lepers, etc., will affect the whole range of your work for me. After explaining this matter for half an hour, Baba went and took a bath. He then broke his 40-day fast with tea and toast. At 1 a.m., he instructed the Westerners to go to bed and rest. In the depths of his infinity, Baba suffered for all those suffering and bore his pain with a smile and a loving glance. His compassionate smile was a source of joy to those in misery, and his lovers too forgot that he was exhausted. Thursday, 18 February 1937, was the day of Baba's actual birthday celebration. When he arose at 5 a.m., Baba looked wonderfully refreshed and immediately became preoccupied with supervising and personally directing everything for the feast. Smiling, he greeted the Westerners and remarked, "I have that one bad avataric habit of supervising every detail myself." At 8 o'clock, Mema washed Baba's feet with milk and honey. The women devotees followed, and then the men. The Westerners too participated in this ceremony. Afterward, the milk was distributed as prasad. Then everyone lined up for darshan, and most had brought garlands. Baba, dressed in a silk cafe-au-lait jacket, looked resplendent while meeting his lovers. Baba's bhajans were sung as each individual went forward to take his darshan. This day's festivities were for those already intoxicated in his love. Okay, I think I'll pass the reading now, Mona.
Thank you. Honey Bunny, can you read next?
The thousands who had come to Prasad the day before had left after experiencing only the fragrance of wine. When even that makes people go mad, what can be said about the intoxication of those who actually imbibe it? One of Baba's Muslim lovers draped him with a sahara, a long veil of flowers traditionally placed on a Mohammedan groom. Baba looked beautiful in it and smiled broadly when it was put over his head. Splendid food was served during the 2 days, and both Easterners and Westerners sat together on the ground enjoying it. The Western men and women did not know how to eat with their hands. The food served on banana leaves. Memo tried to show them, while Gulmai demonstrated squatting on the mats, which had been spread for lunch. A newsreel was also taken of the event by the Imperial Film Company of Bombay. Music and song performances continued throughout the day by singers from Nasik, Ahmednagar, Dhulia, Bombay, and Pune. A couple pictures of Baba's birthday, Nasik, 18 February 1937. A group of Arangaon villagers had been brought to Nasik in buses for the occasion, and they performed several village dances. Malcolm, Will, Dake, Soma Desai, and Angal Pleader delivered short speeches in praise of Meher Baba, pouring out their hearts to the gathering. This message, dictated by the master on spiritual birth, was read out by Rustum. The incident of birth is common to all life on earth. Unlike other living creatures, which are born insignificantly, live an involuntary life, and die an uncertain death, the physical birth of human beings connotes an important and, if they are extra circumspect about it, perhaps a final stage of their evolutionary progress. Here onward, they no longer are automatons, but masters of their destiny, which they can shape and mold according to will. And this means that human beings, having passed through all the travails of lower evolutionary processes, should insist upon the reward thereof, which is spiritual birth in this very life, and not rest content with a promise in the hereafter. No sooner does one recoil on himself and is eager and anxious to elicit replies to interrogative introspection, whither and whence, surely such a one may be said to have had spiritual birth. This poise of mind, once gained, automatically and unknowingly brings about a readjustment of material surroundings, and the man finds himself in harmony and at peace with the world. Conservatism, intolerance, pride, and selfishness will fall away. Everything will put on a very new meaning and assume a purpose. Sinner and saint will appear to be waves differing in size and magnitude on the surface of the same ocean, a natural outcome of forces in the universe, governed by time, space, and causation. The saint has neither the pride of place nor the sinner the stigma of eternal degradation. Nobody is utterly lost and nobody need despair. My panacea to the worried world is the effort on its part to get an answer to the questions, whither and whence? The knowledge that all have the same beginning and the same end, with life on earth a happy interlude, will go a long way in making brotherhood of man a reality on earth. And this in turn will strike at the root of narrow exploitation. I bless you all for the realization of this, the aim of life. Starting in the evening, Master Krishna, the bhajan singer from Pune, who loved Baba, sang until 1:30 a.m. Baba was pleased, showed his appreciation for his singing. By this time, the Westerners were tired and Baba sent them to bed. As it was getting cool, Reno sent her blue and white checkered shawl for Baba. Reno sent her blue and white checkered shawl for Baba. He asked whose it was, and when told, he sent it to one of his lovers who had been too ill to come for his darshan. The 2-day celebration was the most grand of any of Baba's birthdays to date. And for the Western lovers, it was an experience they would never forget. For several years, Baba had stopped celebrating his birthday, but he allowed it in 1937 because of his universal work. It was all his work to intoxicate the world with the echoes of his song, a celestial happening, a red letter day in the history of the world. Tears of joy cleansed his lovers' hearts, erasing all differences of caste, creed, and color from their minds. All bindings and distinctions were washed away in this flow of tears, and those who had come felt the urge to merge in the unity of God at his feet. After the 2 days of celebration, Baba's lovers left for their respective homes and took his love with them in their hearts. During the birthday celebrations, the Westerners saw for the first time the Indian custom of washing the master's feet. Baba explained the purpose of this on a later occasion.
Thank you. Um, Diana, would you read next? Thank you.
Sure. The feet, which are physically the lowest part of the body, are spiritually the highest. Physically, the feet go through everything, good and bad, beautiful and ugly, clean and dirty, yet they are above everything. Spiritually, the feet of a perfect master are above everything in the universe, which is like dust to him. When people come to a perfect master and touch his feet with their heads, they lay the burden of their sanskaras on him. A Sadguru's feet collect the sanskaras from all over the universe, just as an ordinary person, when walking, collects dust on his feet. This is the burden to which Jesus referred when he said, "Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Those who love the perfect master deeply and wish to lighten his burden as much as possible, wash his feet with honey, milk, or water. Honey represents red sanskaras, mental. Milk represents white sanskaras, subtle. And water represents yellow sanskaras, gross. Some devotees place at his feet a coconut, which represents the mind and symbolizes their complete surrenderance of their will to him. Curiously, no doubt related in some way to the master's work, while returning from the celebration, there were a number of accidents along the way. The Rari bus with Minokaras and the luggage van with Kalingad and Masaji both met with accidents. 5 or 6 of the 20 buses going to Arangown dashed into an unfinished culvert. But the most serious accident, perhaps, was at the same spot to the Pontiac driven by Padri carrying Daulat Mai, Freni Masi, Gulmai, and Piroja. The last 2 were thrown from the car, and Gulmai sustained a head injury. When Baba received news of the accident on the 20th from Padri, Baba and Adi Sr. immediately left for Ahmednagar. Adi naturally was frantic with worry about his mother. Considering that and the hectic 2 days of celebrations at Rauri on the way, Baba remarked to him, "Amidst intense activity, if there is an absolute calmness of mind, that is the highest love." He also revealed that the parties involved in the different accidents were saved from death by his dua, blessing. Baba met Gulmai at Kushru quarters before going to Mehrabad. Before leaving Nasik on Saturday, the 20th of January, 1937, Baba sent Garrett Fort on a tour of northern India for a month. Chanji accompanied him to Bombay by train, and Garrett left from there the next night. He was to spend 1 month visiting such places as Bhopal, Ujjain, Gwalior, Agra, Delhi, Benares, and Allahabad. Being used to a glamorous Hollywood lifestyle, Fort had become restless after 2 months of the confining routine in Nasik, and so Baba allowed him to tour India, ostensibly to look at locations and collect background material for the film project. Although Baba laid down certain restrictions, Fort's tour was not as strict as those that others had undergone, such as Pleader, who was sent begging. Before Garrett left, Baba gave him the following list of instructions. Don't stay at first-class hotels, because by leading a simple life, you will be able to know and feel real Indian life. Don't stay at very low caliber hotels either. A mid-range type will do. Don't eat flesh or fish. Eggs, vegetables, milk, and fruit should be the diet. Don't take intoxicating alcohol or liquor. Don't engage in any lustful action. Don't strike anyone under any circumstances except in self-defense. Don't inquire of or inform anyone of Baba. Don't enter into political discussions with anyone. There is no objection to querying about religious and spiritual subjects. There is no objection to discussing the film. You may come across people who would like to help. There is no objection to interviewing a local yogi or saint, but avoid giving them money. Travel by second-class train throughout your journey. Drop a letter to Baba from every place of visit. Send a telegram in case of any dangerous happening. Garrick left Nasik with his mind full of having an exotic adventure in spiritually romantic India and encountering spiritually advanced souls who would show him wondrous things. His dreams, however, were not to be fulfilled. On the 25th of February from Gwalior, he wrote to the other Westerners in Nasik. So far, no dark turbaned strangers have signaled to me from the shadows of a neem tree and led me off into dark corners to reveal secrets of the occult East. But I haven't given up hope. This trip has been more or less prosaic, though half of the red dust of India has been absorbed into the fort system. On the 2nd of March from Agra, Garrett wrote to Baba. Very little has happened during my trip so far that I can connect with spiritual experience. I am disappointed in a way because I had hoped to have a few experiences of the sort that a man, say like Paul Brunton, had in encountering men of spiritual gifts. Baba wrote back through Chanji, take that idea out of your mind that Baba sent you on the trip for some spiritual purpose, training, or experience. And for once, get that fixed in your mind. Do not brood over it. Make the most of the trip, keeping in mind the work of the film and trying your best to find helpful hints. For the rest of the Western group, the rules and regulations which had governed their lives since they had been living at Meher Retreat were relaxed somewhat. The men and women were now allowed to leave the ashram premises for shopping, for example, but certain conditions had to be strictly obeyed. No one should go to a dance, club, or any other place of amusement, nor participate in any games or sports outside of our property. No one should speak with a stranger unless it is quite necessary, nor go to visit any acquaintance. No one should go out on foot or on bicycle between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. This was because of the strong sun. Everyone should be in the house punctually at meal times. No one should eat or drink anything which has not been prepared in the house, with the exception of coffee. This is freedom with clipped wings, Baba remarked. Then he further stated, from March 16th, Urdu lessons recommence. I want you to take work very seriously without crises. Every Sunday will be a holiday from Urdu. Also, the 3 days during each month when you are free to go out all day for a picnic from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Garrett mentioned to me twice that it would be very good to have some form of physical exercise, like ping pong and badminton. I will give you 50 rupees, out of which you can buy ping pong, badminton, deck tennis equipment, and anything else you like. All of you should study well the list of restrictions ordered by me in connection with your leaving the grounds of the ashram. Keep a copy and read it until you understand it perfectly, and don't say afterwards it was not clear. Owing to the heat that will be approaching, we will visit Meherabad only once in 20 days instead of once a week. After summer, we will go once a week or every 10 days. On the 15th of March, all of you will go to Meherabad with me. I think I'll take a rest now.
Yes, thank you so much, Diana. Uh, Rosalie, if you're online, would you read?
I'll try reading. My voice is a little hoarse. After summer, we will go once a week or every 10 days. On the 15th of March, all of you will go to Meherabad with me. Baba had stated that they could go out on picnics once a month and gave them these further instructions about this. When you go out for a picnic, on this day, there will be no duties and no meditation. You are free to leave at 8 a.m. and return at 8 p.m. Since no food may be bought, you may take all your meals with you. Narina will see to this for each separate outing. Sit in the shade and never in the sun between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. To avoid being cramped in the cars, the outings can be spread over 3 days. Only a certain number going on each trip. This means some will be always at the retreat, and those not wishing to make use of their outings can remain quietly here. Elizabeth will have 2 picnics each month since she drives the Ford by herself. Invariably, Elizabeth and usually Norina and Will and Mary Beckett preferred to remain behind at the retreat. Those who were eager to go to places such as Anand Valley were Rano, Kitty, Delia, Margaret, Adi Jr., and Kalinga. Baba had nicknamed Kitty, Margaret, and Delia the frivolous 3 for this reason. Rano recalled that on the picnics, the Westerners used to corner Chanji, Adi Jr., and Rustam, quotes, and pump them for stories of their lives with Baba, end quotes. Because of this, they were always so happy to go out on a picnic. Late one afternoon, Baba came over to the veranda of Zarzat bungalow and clapped his hands, and the group came running. He discussed certain matters with them, and in the course of conversation turned to Kitty and spelled out on the board, "You love me for love itself." Turning to the others, Baba remarked, "Love not the many in the one, but love the one in the many. I am the only friend who will never let you down." Baba, however, was miffed when he heard that Kitty had agreed to Rustam's proposal to accompany him on a tiger shoot, which he felt was taking advantage of his leniency. On Thursday, 4th March, 1937, Baba observed, "Very hard nuts to crack, all of you. Picnics are good, walking also. Games too are good, such as ping pong and so forth for exercise. But this does not mean going daily for a swim or hunting and killing tigers. Have you come to want to do such things because Rustam shot a tiger? Take long or short walks, but don't make new suggestions. Read through the restrictions carefully and do as you are told. It is because I love you that I am saying this." Turning to Margaret, Baba inquired, "You did not leave your ballet school to poor Mabel for killing tigers, did you?" Baba then continued, Picnics once a month are all right. I am happy about that, but don't ask me for other privileges. This displeases me. If I did not like your going out for picnics, I would not have said to Elizabeth, when will you go? Why don't you go too? And if every day you go and out walking for miles or go to the bazaar for shopping, I do not mind. But you are not to go bathing in the river or go hunting. The main point is that you should not bring up new suggestions. Don't ask for more than I give you. If I give you a finger, don't try to reach for the whole arm. Now, just because I have given certain freedom to one does not mean that I should give it to everybody. What is good for one might not be good for another. You must keep this in mind. As I have said, on picnic days, meditation and Urdu lessons will be foregone, but not for those who choose not to go. For them, meditation continues as before. This aversion to meditation and learning Urdu, many have. Meditation, some of you love it, and some of you don't like it. I hate it, but I like being meditated upon because then I help directly. Love is meditation in its highest form, but only that love which does not forget the beloved for a single moment. Then meditation is not necessary. It is superfluous. Majnun thought of nothing but Layla. He saw Layla in everything. Footnote.
The story of Majnun and Layla is a famous Persian tale. At the height of human love, Majnun and Layla loved each other profoundly, but they were from different tribes and were never united in love. Because of that pain of separation, Majnun nearly went mad with love. His love intensified to such heights that he came into contact with a kutub who bestowed God realization upon him.
Urdu is like castor oil. But if you really plan on staying here 5 years, then you must learn it. And the sooner, the better. Baba then quizzed the group on a few imperative Urdu verbs. Later in the day, Baba mentioned his silence. For nearly 12 years, no word has passed my lips.
Thank you, Rosalie. Adrian, would you like to read next? Then you can unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry, I'm actually just doing dishes and chores and things, but I'm
All
here
right.
and listening and appreciating. Thank you. Jai Baba.
All right. Thank you. Ajay Baba. Okay. Meher Kiran, would you like to read next?
Yeah, thanks. So I start from it, from the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah,
Okay.
from the beginning. Thank you.
Yet I am never silent. I speak eternally. The voice that is heard deep within the soul is my voice. The voice of inspiration, of intuition, of guidance. Through those who are receptive to this voice, I speak. My outward silence is no spiritual exercise. Once a devotee asked a perfect master why he fasted. The perfect one replied, I am not an aspirant. I am perfect. So I am not fasting to attain perfection. It is for others that I fast. A spiritual aspirant cannot act like one who has attained perfection, but one who is perfect can, for the sake of others, act like an aspirant. A person who has received a Master of Arts degree can write the alphabet on a blackboard to teach children, but it does not mean he is no longer a Master of Arts. So my silence has been undertaken and maintained solely for the good of others. About spirituality, Baba stated, it is better to study it than to be ignorant of it. Better to feel it than to study it. Better to experience it than to feel it. And best of all, to become it. Baba then explained about the third eye. When the eyes are turned inward in full consciousness, then this eye, pointing to the center of his forehead, opens. And then only the internal is seen. This is insight. Union is then sought. Now you long for union, but without seeing the one with whom you want to be united. When the eyes turn inward and this eye opens, you see the one you long for, and long still more adherently for union, and long still more ardently for union. Turning the eyes inward cannot be done mechanically. It is impossible to do so by exercise. However, it is done in less than a second by the master. You see the self, everything turns as different as anything. Mary asked, you once said that everything was illusion until one reaches the seventh plane and attains full union with God. Why do we have to bother with the intermediate planes? In reply, Baba dictated, union is real, but one has to pass through the planes, even if it is for a second. When a Sadguru or the avatar wishes, he can raise you to the seventh plane in a second. But still, in that second, you have to pass through the whole six planes. The soul thinks that each plane is the end, as each is so alluring. There is no desire to go further. Garrett says he would like to stay forever near the Taj Mahal. It is so beautiful. The first plane is like that. And unless a master helps you, you can go no further. After further explanation, Baba dictation ended and he asked one of the group, is it clear? The person answered, no. I get all confused when you talk like this. Baba smiled and said, love Baba, that is all you need to do. The fun of it all is you are already united. It is funny, but you have to go through it. You have to, everybody has to. You have to know, I am already one with the infinite. I have always been infinite. Malcolm asked, how can we go beyond becoming and getting to pure being? Baba replied, you want to know how to realize the self? Very cute. He asked the only thing that matters. That is not knowing. It is realization. Unless one is imprisoned, one cannot appreciate freedom. A fish born in water lives in water. It cannot realize water. When it comes out of water, it goes back into water and knows the water. Nothing said. Then we should bless everything, even our difficulties. Should not we? Baba said, bless everything, even the sweets and lemons of everything is a blessing. On the following morning, February 5th, March sorry. On the following morning, Friday, 5th March 1937, the film of Baba's birthday was received from Bombay, and it was shown early that day at Baba and the Western group at the Circle Cinema. Later that day, Syed Sahib came to see Baba. His 12-year-old daughter has recently died. Syed was feeling very depressed, not because she had died, but for the suffering she had undergone. In their ignorance, the family members had taken the girl to different psychic mediums to try to exorcise the spirit they believed was haunting her. Syed Sahib was in disagreement with the family and could not understand how a spirit could have bothered his child when he had so much contact with Baba over the years. Consoling him, Baba explained she was not suffering from any spirit possession, but from tuberculosis. No spirit, however powerful, can ever touch those in my group. They run miles away from the members of my circle. On 6th March, Adi Senior drove Baba from Nasik to Rahuri in the Pontiac. On the way, they came upon a serious accident.
Thank you. A bus carrying a wedding party had overturned, and 16 persons were injured, including the groom. Baba had two of the injured placed in his car, and they were taken to the closest medical facility at Kolar for treatment. The others were brought to Rahuri dispensary. Baba went to Mehrabad the next morning. On the 8th, 9th, and 10th, Baba spent all day at Rahuri and returned to Mehrabad each evening. Dolly was still in a disturbed state and would often refuse to eat in the evening of the 9th. Baba fed her milk and jalebis brought by Sarosh to celebrate the birth of a son the previous day. Why Baba maintained such a schedule of being constantly on the move was puzzling, even to those who observed it personally. Dake recorded in his diary on 9th March 1937. Shri Baba came here, Rahuri, exactly at 8 a.m. As soon as the clock strikes 8, Baba's Pontiac horn sends a booming ring on the road. It makes me think, and I never come to the end of it as to why Baba is so much on wheels between Mehrabad, Nasik, and Rahuri. One cannot follow the sequence of his work. Mysterious is his way of doing good to the world. No doubt he is working day and night for the good of humanity, but his work externally falls not within any systematic working of any established institution. He is certainly not working for gain to his person. Whatever he does for the good of his followers and other people. That is why it is difficult to follow his working, unless and until one is showered with his grace. One cannot appreciate his working. Let us try to obey him till we are graced by him, by his touch. For his own reasons, Baba expressed his disappointment that Mahatma Gandhi did not come to his birthday celebration. It would have been good for Gandhi to see Westerners and Easterners gathered together for a special purpose, he stated. At Baba's urging, Chanji wrote the following letter to Gandhi. 5th March 1937, Nasik Retreat. Dear Gandhiji, I have your letter of the 11th last February. Sri Baba's birthday, publicly celebrated this time after years, marked an important epoch in many ways. I will mention two of his most significant features: his touching the feet of thousands and the meeting of the East and West in closer bond. Sri Baba, as a spiritual master, does not believe in halfway methods of indiscriminate charities, which is a special feature of most of the upliftment programs. Such an occasion as this, which has evoked an inquiry from you, is deliberately created for bringing about mass contact and the Bandharas feasts, sorry, Bhandaras, feasts, and such stereotyped charities, a feature of Indian life, are resorted to in the interest of the ultimate design, the imparting of the spiritual touch of the Master during the distribution of grain and cloth and sweetmeat ladus to thousands on the 17th. Sri Baba touched the feet of each recipient of his prasad with his own hands. A procedure which we Gujarati call page, pedu, brown, bowing down, page, padu. This prasad, it may be pointed out, was given to all who came to receive it, rich and poor alike, of all creeds. The spiritual significance of this prasad, as could be gathered from your letter under reply, seems to have been lost sight of it, of its being misinterpreted as help to beggars. Another important feature of this gathering was the participation of Sri Baba's Western devotees in such a public function for the first time, when they mixed freely with Indian devotees and others and had two common meals with all in the same shift sitting, which included all classes and creeds. The Hindus, Brahmins as well as untouchables, Muslims, Parsis, Iranis, Christians, Western as well as Indian, all on the same level with Sri Baba among them, which brought out love and brotherhood as never witnessed before. With loving regards as ever in reply. Mahatma Gandhi wrote to Chanji, March 10, 1937, Second Vardha, my dear Dada Chanji, I'm glad you told me something of what happened on 17th. For the moment, however, I cannot see eye to eye with you. Let us hope that someday I shall understand the events described by you and what will happen hereafter. The same way as you say, surely all castes, classes, rich and poor, and all nationalities have before now been represented at the same board and have eaten together in a spirit of love and brotherhood. This is not a new phenomenon, but it is useless to discuss a thing when angles of vision differ. On Thursday, 11th March, Baba gathered the men Mandali and explained to them, to be frank and fair is a quality and characteristic of persons who are honest and have the courage to openly say out what they feel rather than keep things in the heart or say things behind people's backs.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
we are coming to the end right now. It is only 1 minute to 12. So we'll
So,
stop
which
right
page number
here.
is this, Marvin?
We finished that page. We're up to 1799 next week. Let me stop the
Okay.
share.
Okay, we'll stop reading here, stop sharing. We can all have a chat. 1798, did you say?